Good afternoon. Hope everybody's doing very well. I wanted to talk to you about Lesson 1 and the Reflections Notebook so that I know that you're understanding what this is all about. As you learned in Lesson 1, you know that when you are looking at your class, you need to consider each individual and think of where they are developmentally, cognitively, what are they able to do? Cognitive deals with the brain. Socially, where are they? Are we dealing with somebody that's socially immature, somebody that does better working on his or her own, somebody that likes to collaborate? As we know, there's a big difference between middle and high school, so that social aspect changes quite a bit. But we also need to take into consideration physiologically what a student is able to do, and we need to consider emotionally how they're able to cope and how they consider themselves in terms of your content area. In other words, how their affect, how they see themselves in succeeding or not succeeding in that content area. So all those things need to be taken into consideration when planning lessons. The notebook does this. As I said before, I started using this notebook when I had students that ranged all the way from ESE to learning disabilities to the gifted and talented group with the English language learners in the middle there. So I wanted to make sure that I was differentiating instruction. And the notebook uses learning theories such as behaviorism, where you are using explicit instruction. And if you remember from your psychology courses, behaviorism is like the brain is a blank slate, and that there has to be that explicit instruction in order for the student to learn. And it ranges all the way to constructivism, where in the notebook the students are constructing their own knowledge. You need to think about how students learn best. And students learn, and I'm going to give you a cone to look at in Lesson 2, so you can see that students learn by doing. And what you are told or what you read, that percentage that you retain is far lower than if you were actually completing it. If you're completing something and constructing your own knowledge. So, this notebook allows for people, no matter what their socioeconomic status or their gender or their learning style, any of those things, doesn't matter. The student is able to respond, and at least the teacher can glean an idea of what that student is capable of doing. Now, let me give you an example. In my English class, one time we were studying characterization. We were really looking at characters. I had one student, after being given the notes on the left-hand side about characterization, he was reading independently his book, and he created a symphony. Yes, you heard me right. He created music and played the music on his cello. And as he played this, he told how his music, what he had created, represented that character. Right. I couldn't do it either. So you can see that a gifted student was able to do that, whereas one of my ELL students used a character sketch, a stick figure, to tell what that character was thinking and feeling, and what that character loved, and the strengths of the character, and the Achilles heel. You can't see my heel, but the weaknesses of that character, and basically was able to draw pictures to demonstrate and to talk to me about what she understood about her character and characterization. So, it just opens up the door for students to use choice in what they're reading, to not limit those gifted and talented students, and to bring those students up that are on the lower end up, and to loosen or to narrow that gap. And in Lesson 2, you're going to learn about the Matthew effect. And so when you get to that point, think about that in the notebook and the Matthew effect and why you would utilize a tool like a Reflections notebook. Yes, you are demonstrating what you're learning in my class using the Reflections notebook. And you're covering the reading competencies, which there are a million in this course. That's why you have so many entries. But you have to think about how could you utilize this in your classroom, or if you're going to be an administrator, how could you share this with your teachers? And they can modify it to make it work for your student population. Okay? I hope you understand that. I hope you enjoy lesson 2 as you learn a little bit more about the areas of reading, which are phonics, phonemic awareness, vocabulary, comprehension, and fluency. And you start to look outside of your world and look at various places to find out who are our students now and who are our teachers. And maybe take some time to interview those for your reflections notebook, because that will be due at the end of the semester. Okay. Remember that we have the what's the answer jar. I would like to have a student volunteer to manage that jar. We do have Andrea, my grad assistant, that's helping this semester, so she'll be managing it, but it'd also be nice for one of you to be connected with her. So please volunteer for that, okay? I hope you have a great day. Thank you for listening, and enjoy lesson 2.